So I don't think there's anybody out there that's still carrying that has a 31-inch waist and carrying 254 pounds.
Welcome back to RXMuscle's Iron Road to the Olympia 2023. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today I am joined by another bodybuilding legend, 8-time Mr. Olympia, our good friend Lee Haney. Welcome to the show. Welcome back.
Thanks, Dave. How you doing, my man?
Lee called me up the other day. He said, "Dave, you don't love me anymore. I haven't heard from you." I said, "Lee, we got to get you on the show. We got an Olympia coming up. And we want your insight. Plus, you got a very big show coming up of your own, the Lee Haney Games. And it's an exciting time of the year.
Oh, yeah, man. Staying busy. We're busy pumping that out. It'll be November 11th coming up. Matter of fact, that's my birthday. So, guys, show me some love.
Wow.
Yeah, man. So make sure you go online and register. It's going to be a fantastic event. It's going to be located at the Georgia International Convention Center.
Nice.
College Park. And the great thing about this venue, Dave, you get off the plane, take a 5-minute train to the hotel, walk out of the hotel, right into the yard of the convention center.
Wow.
So this is very easy, beautiful facility, first class event.
The good thing about that is that people from out of town can come in and they don't have to worry about renting cars and taking taxis. I mean, literally, I've been in Atlanta. It's very easy to get around with mass transit. And that's super, super easy. Now, how many years have you been doing this show now? It's been quite a while now, right?
Yeah, this will be the 9th year since we added, the physique and the bodybuilding,
right.
Bikini, the end of that. But prior to that, it was totally the Lee Haney Fitness Games, right, which dealt with teenagers, kids, and obstacle race and that sort of deal. So we've grown beyond that at this time. Not beyond it, but we've added additional things. Right. Like this upcoming year, we have arm wrestling, strongman, powerlifting, the Teen Challenge. We'll have fencing. So there's a combination of things that we're going to be doing. So we're trying to have something for everybody, every part of public interest as it relates to sports.
Yeah, you love to involve the entire community, and I think that's something that you're pretty well known for. I have to ask you this because coming from the background that you did, obviously winning 8 Mr. Olympia titles, I have to believe in the back of your head somewhere, in your dreamland, you have to want to promote a pro open men's show at some point. Is that in your wheelhouse?
Well, you know what, Dave, I've contemplated that back and forth. But I want to stay true to my mission. And my event, the Lee Haney Games, is an event that raised funds for my mentoring program for kids. Right. And so my focus beyond, what I'm doing on the amateur level, which is great. I love the amateurs deal, is that of kids also. Right. So I don't want to get too far out in that area, which is not true to the reason why I started this whole event, so the kids, the teenagers, right, those are the up and coming athletes and so forth, and up and coming members of society. So we're always focused on feeding into them. So we got something else happening with that too, Dave, but I'll let you in on that once I get the blueprint established. But it's so
it is in the back of your brain somewhere running around there. No, because you have so many connections. You were the president's on the president's council of physical fitness. I mean, you have connections deep into the community that a lot of people don't have. And I would imagine that if you decided to hold a pro show, maybe separate from this, that you would get a lot of backing for it. You know what I mean? And that you could do it the right way and show these athletes, the VIP treatment, so to speak. You know.
Well, having been there, done that, that's always my focus. Making sure the athletes enjoy their experience, that they are treated fairly, treated first class. So yes, that's definitely on my radar.
Okay.
Matter of fact, my son Josh is sort of the architectural designer of when I come up with all these ideas. Then I got my daughter Olympia.
Yeah.
Olympia, she's into event planning.
Oh wow!
And as you know, my wife Shirley is the chief financial officer. So we have to sit down and have a team meeting. And then we got 4 grandkids and another one on the way.
I know. Congratulations, by the way, on the new one you just had.
Yeah, Josiah Lee Haney, man.
I love it. Oh, you got your middle name. I mean,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, big boy, man. So we got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving parts. You
got a lot of kids. Do you ever think that, with the genetics that you have in your family, have you ever, is there anyone who has like an inkling towards bodybuilding, you think? You think you'd ever see another Haney on an Olympia stage?
I'm not sure. I wasn't sure Joshua was good in that direction. He was more football strength training. He could squat 500 pounds, but he only weighed 135 pounds. I said, well, why you want to do that? He said, well, because I can do it, Dad. And he went to the Citadel. So the guys at Citadel a little bit different anyway.
I know.
Yeah, all that kind of craziness, But then Olympia, she received the Heisman Award. She played volleyball and basketball, and Heisman Award is an award that's given to the best athlete, male and female.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Calvin Johnson, Calvin, he won that award at the same school Olympia attended. Olympia was the only girl to ever get that.
Wow.
So, but neither Olympia's thought about it, but guess what? She's got a little girl on the way in December. So.
But it amazes me because they did get obviously your genetics. They just, they applied it to another aspect of athletics. And, people always ask me, would you want your son to be a bodybuilder? I said, I want my son to do what he wants to do, but he obviously got athletic ability for me. Where he applies that, is up to them, I guess, type of thing.
Yeah, we got to step back and let them do what they do and not press upon them our gifts or our vision,
It's hard.
So, it all works out when we let them make it.
It's hard, Lee. I have trouble with that because my son's really good at sports and then he just decides he doesn't want to do it anymore. And I'm like, and he's only 7, of course, but I'm like, why are you quitting soccer? You're like the best kid on the field. He's like, I want to play basketball now.
They changed gears, Dave. Josh started off with soccer. Yeah. Then he went to T-ball. Went to the World Series in T-ball.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Then he said, well, Dad, let's try football. So I was one of the football coaches, and lo and behold, we got a football scholarship to the Citadel. So
he had a scholarship. I didn't know he had a scholarship there, Lee. That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's
man.
A great school.
Yeah, both kids got one. So I'm thankful for great genetics and thankful for athletics.
That's a lot of money you saved, Lee.
Yeah, man. I saved a ton of money. I think to the tune of over $400,000.
I know. The Citadel is crazy. I know. That's you got that was your genetics saved you a lot of cash in the long run. Yeah. But it is hard though, because when you have kids, you want to like kind of push them in the right direction, but they have to kind of dictate the direction, and it sometimes is difficult to take a step back as a parent.
Yeah, another thing, I try to get parents to be clean about is take a look at your child. See, they'll generally show you what their gifts are.
Right.
If they're like jumping around, then okay, we're talking gymnastics. My granddaughter, she's always on her toes. Right. And she's jumping and climbing. So guess what? We got in gymnastics. And my youngest one, Jensen, 2 years old, she loves to take things apart and see how to put it back together again. So we talk about either engineering or architect or something. I don't know, maybe a doctor.
Right. My wife was a very high level gymnast. So my kids all take gymnastics too. So they're doing they're all over the place. They're doing everything. So, and I think it's good. I think it's good to have that kind of cross training type of situation.
It is, man, definitely.
That takes me to my next question, because on this year's Olympia stage, we have the son of Lee Labr, a guy you competed against, and I know he was a pain in your ass when you were competing against him because because he was always right there. And now his son is going to be, you know, on the Olympia stage, and we're talking about a top 3 finish potentially. Is it crazy? I mean, you've seen it all. You've seen obviously the synthesis and the evolution of Hunter from a young boy, you know, to now he's an Olympia competitor. Does it kind of blow your mind to see that?
Oh yeah, I mean, that's rare that a son would, you know, follow behind his dad's footsteps. Right. And Hunter's done just that, you know. I always kept my eye on Josh for that, but that just wasn't his thing. But Hunter has made some incredible accomplishments. I mean, his condition in his last show was incredible. He looked great, totally different than what I saw in the Olympia last year. Right. You know, so he's right on point. But and he got great shape, great structure from his dad. So I like the balance and the symmetry of his physique also.
And he obviously got the height from his mother, I guess.
Oh yeah, yeah, he sure did. I mean, those jeans kick right in for him.
Yeah, he got the best from both sides.
Yeah, he sure did. Symmetry from his dad, height from his mom.
And I don't believe. I think I've interviewed Lee about this. I don't think Lee pushed him into bodybuilding at all, or even influenced him. I think he just kind of gravitated toward himself, you know, in that sense.
Yeah, as I understand, Lee is not his trainer either.
No,
it's not his coach. So
yeah,
you know,
it's probably smart in hindsight.
Yeah. You know how kids are, dads and kids are. You know, that sort of don't work out as well.
The only coach who pulled it off was the Venus and Serena's father.
Oh yeah. But that was dealing with a young lady. So, you know, ladies a little bit different.
They love their father. Yeah, they love their father. Right. You're right. You're 100% right. But, you know, when I think about how successful Hunter's been, you know, and with Lee obviously as a role model, and then, you know, when I have interviewed Sergio Lea Jr. in the past, who's also another tremendous, you know, next generation bodybuilder, his father, Sergio Sr., didn't want him to go into bodybuilding. Matter of fact, he told me that his father would call around Chicago to all the gyms and tell him, don't let my son in. Because he did not want him going into bodybuilding, which of course made him probably go into bodybuilding. You know,
you know how that is, father and son, man. You know, I felt some kind of way when Josh wanted to play football because, you know, I played football. I mean, I got an injury in my junior year, injury in my senior year. And last thing I wanted for him to go through that type of trauma. Right. You know, so I pushed him more towards baseball. Gotcha. But when he was 15 years old, he said, Dad, could I just try it? I said, well, because we did it in, you know, Pee Wee League. We did it then. Right. But I said, well, okay. Right. And I'd be doggone the kid get a full scholarship.
So your son really didn't start playing organized until he was like 15 at that point? Right. Wow. So he had to be really good to do that. Yeah. Do you think it's better for kids to wait till they're a little older to do football? Or do you like the whole idea of the Pee Wee leagues and then into the, you know, whatever, Pop Warner, I don't know what they call it anymore, but.
Right. I think the Pee Wee League is good in Pop Warners.
Yeah.
Because they get a feel for it and then they, you know, then they're able to determine if this is for them. Right. You know, a kid get popped a couple of times. He said, Dad, I don't want nothing else to do with that. But you know, that's not him. But if you get one that jumps up and says, okay, I want some more of that, then okay, that's his direction, you know. Right.
No, you're right. It's interesting, you know, how some kids just gravitate towards things, and I guess you got to just expose them to a lot of different options, and then they kind of will pick what they like. I mean, why did you and I pick bodybuilding? I don't know. You know, I was a runner, I was a soccer player, you were a football player, but for some reason, you know, bodybuilding just grabbed our attention. You know, who knows why?
Yeah, you know, for me, man, I like the fact that, well, number one, I want the muscles for the girls. That's how I got Shirley, you know? You've been
dating Shirley for 100 years now. You've been with her.
Yeah. So,
she grabbed you up fast, you know?
She sure did, man. She looked at the potential. But, you know, I like the fact that when in bodybuilding, you know, it's an individualized sport. You compete against yourself. Yeah. And I wasn't the kind of young man that hung around a lot of people, you know. I like, I didn't mind doing stuff on my own. So I got my little set of weights when I was like 10 years old, and I would train, I would read up on Charles Atlas courses, Arnold, Robbie. Every time we went to the grocery store with my family, I would rush to the newsstand to check out who was next.
Oh, so you were hooked early. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I got started, and I'm glad I did. I fell in love with it from that point.
Right. Let me ask you this question, because we have a new Mr. Olympia, Hadi Choopan, and he has to defend his title this year. Now, a lot of people are saying it's not a foregone conclusion that he's going to win. He wasn't a very dominant champion because he's on a shorter stature. People feel like it's a wide open show. If you had to give him advice, as a Mr. Olympia going into his first title defense, what do you think is the most important thing for someone like him to in his mind and to focus on?
Well, I think for Hadi, one thing he had to be careful of is trying to, put on more size than his frame would allow him to look balanced. He had a nice balance about him last year. Very good muscle maturity and separation. All of that was there. That's what gave him that number one and winning the Olympia. So he's got to be careful that he don't try to outsize some of the other competitors, because that's not who he is. Sure. If he put on too much weight, he could take on a squatty appearance.
Right.
So you want to stay away from that. So I would say he need to focus on, continuing to develop more muscle maturity, more muscle separation, a beautiful poise, posing routine when he hit the deal. That's what I would say. Make sure he take care of his symmetry and don't develop squatty powerlifting legs.
Right.
I watch a lot of guys do that. They have these ugly legs that look like tree trunks. There's no balance to them and no rhyme or reason to their shape and form. You look at Ronnie, as big as Ronnie Coleman's leg was, or even Tom Platt's, it still fit. They still fit. Because Tom's legs are bigger than his upper body, but I'm saying the way they were made up, it fit. You could tell what was going on. You look at like Ramy, he has a huge thigh, but you're like, okay, where's the detail? Where's the muscle separation? Gotcha. It's not there. So Hadi got to be careful with that. A pretty leg is very important, along with balanced calves, I feel, as far as being on top. So it'll be hard to unseat him if he do those things right. But I tell you what, there's some great guys coming along. You like you was talking about Hunter. Hunter got a beautiful legs, great shape. You can tell that he did listen to his father and follow the upbringing of his father when it came to developing his physique. So he's very balanced in that. But then you got Montfort, great looking legs. If he go a little bit too far, he could sort of spill over into the other world. Right. So these guys got to be careful. And again, Dave, we're talking about physiques that, we look at our era and the eras that made bodybuilding as the standard. Right. The standard is sort of a little bit different now. And I'm not knocking it either way it go. I'm just saying it's a little bit different. So, I'm a little bit privy to the look that, okay, things fit, not something that's like, okay, there it is. What is that? Well,
yeah, I think the judges tend to judge what's up on stage, and sometimes they just don't have as much to choose from. But your famous statement, and I got to throw it back at you because, and I think you're right. A good big man always beats a good little man. That was your statement. Arnold thought the same thing, with him and Franco. And does that give the taller guys an advantage? And I'm talking about the guys like Andrew Jack, who's coming in now, Samson Dowda, who won the Arnold Classic. I mean, these are guys over 6 foot, big structures, much, much taller than Hadi Choopan. Is that going to be a problem for him if these guys bring the conditioning that they need to the stage?
Yeah, definitely, because Samson he's a monster. And then you got Jack. Jack looks incredible. Both of these brothers they look great, man. Very good lines. They come in with great muscle separation. Then it'll be hard to beat either one of these guys. So that's why Heidi got to continue to play his game, because in hope that these guys don't come in and in is better shape than he does. So that's the deal right there. So
now you also
beautiful.
You also always say big man should never go to the ground. Why do you say that?
Exactly. You're a big bodybuilder, man. You need to take up the whole stage. I mean, Arnold told me that. Arnold said, Lee, when you're big, you got to pose big. He said, don't pose small and squatty, because you're not a short guy. So they have to be very careful in choosing poses that align itself with their physiques and their frames. You know, when I went about trying to find a pose and routine, okay, I'm Arnold, or I'm Robbie Robinson, or I'm Roy Callender. I'm not Lee Labrada, neither am I Rich Gaspari. So neither was I Muhammad McCowie during that era. So, you know, Samir was sort of in the middle. He could do either one of them, you know, but you got to be true to who you are and true to your blueprint. And then your music selection has got to be something that really brings the people to their feet. Yeah. And we don't have to walk across the stage and do this, you know.
I hate that too, Lee. I hate it.
I don't hear you. You're not clapping loud. No. Give them something to clap about it. They'll clap, for goodness sake.
You're right. You're right. What was your favorite music that you used back in the day? You used the Excalibur, right? A couple times?
Oh, I used Excalibur more than a couple of times.
Yeah. That was great.
When I first went to I saw the movie King Arthur, Excalibur, the movie. And man, I never will forget when I saw King Arthur when his spirit was renewed, and you saw him riding through the countryside, which was dull and bleak. All of a sudden, it started to blossom. Flowers started to bloom, and the trees started to turn green again. And I thought in myself, in my heart, okay, this is a renewal. I want to be the renewal of the upcoming king of bodybuilding. That was my mindset. I mean, this music gave me goosebumps, and I knew it was for me when I heard it. Then I also knew I had the physique to back it up.
Yeah, you did. You did. Yeah. When you hit that last spread,
music like that, it'd be Pee Wee Herman, you know.
I remember when you would hit that front lat spread to that music, man. Woof, I got chills just watching it, man. It was great. Great. Now, you won 8 times in a row, undefeated. You know, we don't see that anymore. I mean, Ronnie was the last one to do that. And, you know, he had some challenges by Jay Cutler, obviously. A few times it was close call for him. What does a guy have to do? Do we think we're going to see that again? Will we see another bodybuilder be that dominant? Or do you think that that's something of the past that can't happen because the guys are too good now? And this is the important part of the question. What is the most important thing to be able to reproduce year after year after year like you did consistently and win that title?
Well, you know, I think it will be a hard thing to duplicate because of where bodybuilding is now, you know. And I mean, I get the magazines. I love that I still get, you know, MD.
I can't believe
I appreciate Steve Blickman for putting us out, man. So I'm still excited when I get these in the mail. But you know, a lot of the guys that I see now, you're trying to find, you know, things that make them different and unique to one another. You know, you see everybody looking almost the same way. Right. You know, you got some exceptions out there. So it takes time to build a quality physique, to go about to engineer body parts in such a way that they really stick out without being overly done. You know, I see a lot of that got huge arms, the big shoulders, and little bitty calves, and you know, so they have to pay particular care about how they're going about developing the balance of their physiques. So now you look at when I retired, I was 31. You know, I had gotten 8 Mr. Olympias by the age of 31.
Crazy, yeah.
Running and win his first one till he was 35. So for someone in their 30s to go forward and win the Olympia 8 times, that's going to be miraculous.
Yeah.
However, the younger athletes start, if he have the blueprint, the muscle maturity, and he's gifted in such a way that he can start early. I started at the age of 24 winning my first one. So I was out of the game by the time I was 31.
Right.
And I left without being injured because we know the life, whether it's football, basketball, boxing, whatever, and that includes bodybuilding. When you get past 35, the body has already been traumatized a bit. So to go past that to 8 more Olympias, that's going to be real hard.
Right.
Can your hips, your back, your knees, can it take it? And that's where the challenge is. So, if a guy can grab it early, then okay, he's on his way. But the later it is, later in the day it is, the harder it's going to be to break that record. So that's one of the biggest nuts to try to crack there. So I'm not going to say never, because miracles happen all the time. They said, I would never do that, but guess what I did?
Yeah.
But
you're right. You're 100% right. Jay Cutler, I interviewed him the other day, and he said the same thing. He said bodybuilding is a young man's sport. He said because the body just looks better when you're younger. And as you get older, you start, your waist gets a little wider, the skin's not quite as tight. Ronnie was just a genetic anomaly. But I mean, look, he's dealing with a lot of, like you said, orthopedic problems now. From injuries and stuff like that. Whereas Jay told me he has no injuries. Like he's like you. He has not a single injury, and which is a miracle because he was really big, and he competed for a long time. But he stopped before, around 40. So I think that probably he got a little bit lucky too. Sometimes you have to have a little luck involved with not getting injured.
That's right. You got to do a lot of things right, man.
But you make an interesting, very good point, because it's so hard nowadays because the guys have such great development to win an Olympia at a young age that you're right. If it takes you to your 33 to win your first Olympia, it's a lot harder to get to 8 than it would be if you won it at 24 like you did. But it doesn't seem possible in today's day and age to win an Olympia that young, because it takes time to build the level of muscle that these guys are dealing with. I mean, even you, what was the biggest you were on stage? 245?
My last Olympia, I was 254 pounds.
Oh, you were that heavy. Okay. And that was huge for that day. No one was even close to that. Nowadays, that's like an average Olympia guy is 255,
That's right. That's right. So it's a whole nother kind of deal now. But Dave, you know how it is, man. Somewhere in time, somewhere in the world, Mother Nature could be whooping up another Sergio Lea or another Lee Haney. You just never know.
You're right.
Kid somewhere in the woods that just came out of nowhere, out of a sugar shack, and all of a sudden, what in the world?
You're right. Another Kevin Levrone. There's always some new freak on the block being created.
It is. That's just the way it happens sometimes.
Right. What's the biggest mistake that you see a lot of top bodybuilders make in their, I don't know if you call it contest prep, or just, you see a guy, you say, wow, this guy's got great potential, and then they make a mistake, and you're like, man, I can't believe they did that. What's the biggest mistake you see out there?
I see several of them, they may miss their peak or come in, holding fluid and have that little skim between the muscles and the skin that they didn't get rid of. And all of a sudden, the day after the show, bam, they look great. So one of the things that I teach when I have athletes reach out to me to help them with contest prep or help them with training systems, okay, the week of the show, the night before the show, or the day before the show, during the day, you need to hit a dry sauna and go through your mandatory poses at least around 3 times, holding each mandatory pose for about 10 seconds. Then pop out, cool the body down, go back in for a second time. Do it at least 3 times. Do it once in the early part of the day, and do it again twice later in the day, let's say around 8 o'clock that evening. By doing so, you're getting rid of that little film of water. So the next morning before the show, bam, you hit the stage, you're tight, instead of having to wait to the evening,
Is that the Lee Haney secret?
Well, something, I can't say it was just mine. I learned that from Albert Beckles.
Okay.
Some of the older guys. So that's one of the things that I would always do. And if I didn't have a dry sauna, I would put towels in the bathroom under the floor and turn the hot water on so it would get steamed up. So that was one of my secrets. And that's what I press upon these, some of the athletes that I work with. So there's ways to do it, without starving yourself or depriving yourself of water. Because your muscles got to have water. And, if you go into a show with a cotton mouth, then guess what? That's not correct. That should never happen. It never happened to me.
When do you cut your water? When would you cut your water? When would you cut your water usually?
What I do, I use hot tea, and B6, which is a natural diuretic. So, and then the last week or so, I train with a heavy sweatshirt on. And sometimes I cut a garbage bag out, cut the neck out, the garbage bag, the arms out, put it on. Then I put the sweatshirt on top of that. Now I do the same thing for the legs. So I sweat the water out without I don't stop drinking water.
Oh, so you never stop drinking?
I never stop drinking. So I use the tea, which is diuretic, but then I also make sure I include magnesium, at least around 500 to 1,000. 500 in the morning, 500 in the evening. So at least the muscle will hold on to a bit of the necessary fluids so that I don't cramp while I'm on the stage. Because I had that happen, my first Olympia. It never happened again. I learned from one of the legends. You remember Johnny Fuller, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. I was cramping after doing the 1983 Olympia, and Johnny pulled me to the side and worked and created this solution that had magnesium in it. He said, Lee, you got to have a 3-to-1 magnesium to potassium. And so I learned from that point, and that never happened again.
Wow. Did you ever use diuretics at all? Did you ever have to do that?
I use a slight diuretic in 83, and that's why I end up cramping. I was never big on diuretics.
You never used them. You never used them after that. Interesting. Okay.
No, I never used that. That's the man. Look, that's very dangerous. So I've learned to use, like, as I said, B6, and I use tea. That's something I learned from Albert Beckles too. I hung around Albert a lot. We lived in the San Fernando Valley together near Woodland Hill years ago, and worked out quite a bit together.
Was he really as old as he said he was, Lee?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Yes, he is still today.
Yeah, he still looks great too.
Yeah, he still do. The amazing thing about Albert, my second Olympia in Belgium, I played second. No, I played first. Albert played second to me.
I know.
And at that time, Albert was in his 50s.
Yeah, that's
and I was only 25 years old. His level of muscle maturity was a whole nother world. Even after I retired, when I retired, I still never reached the muscle maturity level as Albert Beckles. Who could? He was 20-some years older than me.
Right. That's crazy.
That's incredible.
Crazy. Yeah, a lot of people talk about Dexter at 50 years old, how amazing he was, but Beckles was even older than that. He was second at the Olympia, like you said. It's crazy.
Exactly, it is. Another thing with Dexter still is in incredible health right now. Yep. He was another one that went through, and Dexter stayed true to his game, true to his genetic blueprint. He was, his nickname was the Blade, and that's what he always focused on, being better and being the best that he could be with who he was and what he had, which is very smart. I always tell athletes, listen, if you're geared up for a show, never say, well, I got to get ready so I can beat so-and-so. I've never looked to beat anybody other than the Lee Haney of the previous year. Right. So that's the mindset that all bodybuilders need to have, or athletes, period. Be the best you can be, and never try to compare yourself to somebody else, because that's not who you are. You're who you are.
Very good advice. Very wise advice, Lee. And I appreciate your insights into the Olympia, into your training for the Olympia, and what you went through, because I think you're a role model for a lot of the future generations that came up. I know when I was, reading the magazines, when I first started reading the magazines, you were the reigning Olympia champ. And, it's funny because people don't realize how big you were for that era, because there was no one even close to you at that size. And nowadays guys say, he looks kind of like, the guys we see today, but they don't remember that there was no one that size at that time in the 80s when you were competing and winning Olympias. You were the only one that big.
Yeah, and the other thing too, Dave, a lot of the athletes now, they focus on size. Everything is about how much do a person weigh and this kind of thing. You know, the shoulder and the waist ratio was very important during the era in which we came through. You know, you had to have a nice tapering waist with nice balanced thighs, nice calves, and all of that had to happen, you know. And so it wasn't about let's see who can be the biggest. It's about who can be have the most muscle maturity, symmetry, balance, and present their physiques on stage. So in that light, we're still bodybuilding now is still in a struggle with that. I mean, we see it in the classic physique area where the waist and the balance and the symmetry is there. And, you know, and I'm glad to see that division happen. Right. But, you know, that's not what we focus on in the past. I had a 31.5-inch waist.
It's insane.
You know, carrying 254 pounds. So that was different. So I don't think there's anybody out there that's still carrying that has a 31-inch waist and carrying 254 pounds.
No, not at your height.
I don't see it if you're looking at that as a way to measure. So that's not happening even today, although guys are bigger. Bigger does not mean better.
Right. When you're that dominant over the competition, how do you get yourself motivated every year to be better at the Olympia and to come in at your best? Because it's like you almost know that there's no one who's even challenging you. There was no one. I mean, until Dorian came along, you know, that last year, really, there was no one there who was really challenging you. How did you motivate yourself to be your best on an Olympia stage?
Well, Dave, one thing, man, when you have the heart of a champion, you always want to find ways to be better. You never go to sleep, you know, on your laurels and that sort of thing. You know, besides, you know, being Mr. Olympia, I had the opportunity to work with a lot of great athletes, one being Evander Holyfield, you know, the other one being Gary Sheffield, the other one being Shannon Sharp, you know, Riddick Bowe. You know, all of these champions had the one thing in common. I didn't go looking for them. They came to me. And said, hey, I want to be better. How can I be better than what I'm? Yeah, I know I got this and, you know, I'm this and that, but that don't matter. How do I go to the next level? You know, and so true champions, that's their mindset. They're not satisfied with just being who they are. You look at Ronnie, you know, you hear Ronnie say, man, only thing he had to regret is he didn't do an extra couple reps with 800 pounds. So that's the mindset of a gladiator. Right. You know, we're gladiators, you know, and that's the way we think. So our motivation, it comes from within. You either got it or you don't. You either pee or get off the pot, you know?
Right. Well, you know, you're very true with what you're saying, because there are guys out there, and you know, we see these people with the genetics, and you're like, man, if I only had their genetics with my mindset, I would never lose. And not everyone has that championship mindset. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Paul Dillette, I love him. The guy's, you know, I thought he had one of the greatest physiques of all time, but I don't think he had that killer, you know, mindset to, you know, take it to that like some of them, because he had all the tools in the tool shed to work with, right?
Yeah, he sure did. I mean, Paul was mass before there was mass.
And he had good symmetry too, and good conditioning.
Yeah. Another guy that reminds me of that was Matt Mendenhall.
Yeah.
Matt had that too. I remember training with Matt at the Gold's Gym when I lived in Woodland Hills, California. And, you know, we're getting a few workouts in together. And we get to one day and say, well, I don't want to do that. Then we get to, well, I don't want to do that. You know, so he just didn't have that killer instinct about him.
Right.
Whereby Rich Aspire with almost zero genetics. Rich was an animal, you know. Listen, my mom was 5'11".
Yeah.
Close to 6 foot tall. My dad was 5'11".
Right.
I mean, I had everything going for me. Rich's dad was maybe 5'4". His mom maybe 5 foot, if that.
Wow. Oh my
God.
God.
He didn't have any of that, but what he did have was a lot of heart.
Right.
A lot of heart, a lot of determination.
It seems like that's almost more important in bodybuilding. And when you get that rare case where you get the heart of the champion with the genetics, someone like yourself, Ronnie, Dorian, it seems, Jay, you become unbeatable at that point because you got everything going for you.
That's right, man. That's what it takes. We call it the outer tiger, you know. You got to have that. And that'll take you high as you want to go.
You're
And
right.
at the end of the day, you're satisfied. You have no unfinished business. I got no unfinished business. So when
You're
I
right.
walked away in 1991, I never had the desire to step back on stage. That was it. Finished. I've done my job.
Let me ask you this question. Because if you had known that Ronnie was going to get 8 Olympias, would you have gone one more time? Because you were only 31 years old.
No, man, I wouldn't have gone
No?
another time. Listen, hey, Dave, I gave it all I had, man. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. After that 7th Olympia, I woke up, a few days after the Olympia.
Yeah.
My body was so racked with pain. I didn't think I could go on. I mean,
Really?
it was horrible.
Yeah.
I thought I was broken. I mean, I really did. And after a few days, I got this system that I do with my certification organization. After the athletes finish, be it a straight 6 or 3 on 1, I have to do a 3-day power circuit, which is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Just Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to train the whole body. Only on those, not the whole body each day, but you got like chest and arms on Monday, legs on Wednesday, back and shoulders on Friday. So you're training those groups at least once every 7th day for about 3 weeks.
Right.
To let your body recover. Then you detox the body with herbs and that sort of thing. The kidney, the liver, the bloodstream, the colon, and you're relaxing the whole system. So I did that for 3 weeks after my last Olympia. And next thing you know, man, I was energized and ready to go again. But man, I didn't think I could go on after that. After that 7th, it would hurt. So listen, after that kind of pain, when I hit number 8, I said, that's it. I've done what I wanted to do.
Right.
And me and Shirley have talked about it, and
Yeah.
that was it, man. I was finished. It was like I was ready to exhale.
Gotcha. Yeah. Great, wonderful insights. I love talking to you, Lee. You inspire not only the people listening, but you inspire me. And so I want to thank you for that. You got the big show coming up what is it? It's in 2 weeks?
November the 11th. We got about 3 weeks. November the 11th.
Let me
and
pull
for
that
those
up again.
wanting to get tickets or wanting to register, all they have to do is go to LeeHaneyGames.com. That's LeeHaneyGames.com. Get your hotel, register. Got any questions, you can send some in. We're looking forward to having the first class event. Linda Murray is going to be my special guest this year.
Oh, great.
Then we're going to have Bob Tech, the voice of bodybuilding. Bob will be there. So we're going to have a fantastic time. It's going to be a first-class event.
That's awesome. So that's November 11th. And go to LeeHaneyGames.com. It's going to be held at the Georgia International Convention Center. This is the 9th year, Lee, right?
Yeah, this is 9th year. Now, matter of fact, for all 9 years, we've had High-Tech Pharmaceutical, my good friend Jared
Wheat. Yeah, Jared.
I love Jared. Great brother, man. He's been on board with me all of that time. Always tell Lee, what do you need? So we're happy to have him with us.
That's great to have a sponsor like that. And Jared does support bodybuilding, so that is awesome. Lee, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for your insight. Are you going to be at the Olympia, or are you skipping this year?
Man, I tell you what, this is very close to my show, and my daughter's expecting. My daughter-in-law, we just had a little boy, Josiah. And the other girls that help run our event, all of them are pregnant. Everybody's pregnant.
All right. Well, you better stay home and take care of the fam. Good luck with your show on the 11th, and thanks for your insights, Lee.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate you. God bless you and your family.
Thank you. Guys, that's going to take us to the end of another episode of Iron Road to the Olympia 2023. I'm Dave Palumbo with 8-time Mr. Olympia Lee Haney. We'll see you next time.